Chelsea won, Burnley won. Chelsea have dropped points in a game again, not because they played badly, but because of their propensity to lose their heads at critical moments in the game. Now, this it was not all doom and gloom. There are positives in this game, and there are negatives. Let us discuss the positives from the game first before we look at the negative. To begin, Chelsea started this game very positively. Right from the off, they went at Burnley, pressed very high. Like in this example, this was just very second minute of the game. Burnley trying to play out from the back, and then immediately Chelsea are on them. There is this heavy 1v1 pressing that we see a lot of from Chelsea. You even had João Pedro pressing the goalkeeper, Palmer going to press one of the centre backs, and then you will see Reece James from the back pushing up to also maintain that 1v1 press. They kept Burnley in a cage. Burnley couldn't get out of their own half at all. And it was the same pattern we saw in the Leeds game. This very aggressive pressing, squeezing the pitch, 1v1 all over. And then the opponent not being able to create anything at all. It's the same situation here as well, that Chelsea basically went at them 1v1 from the build-up and compressed the pitch. You see Reece James from his right back position going to press a centre back at the other end of the pitch. Doesn't matter because it would usually just force Burnley to take the ball forward early, and then Chelsea regain possession and immediately can turn over possession and start their own attacks. That worked excellently well for Chelsea off the ball. Burnley did not create anything at all in this game. The few shots that Burnley had were very low SG shots. So off the ball, excellent from Chelsea. On the ball as well, of course, we are very familiar with how Chelsea creates and builds up now, but one positive I want to point out from this game, and something we noticed from the Leeds game as well, is how Rosinho is using Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer. On the team sheet, it would look as if Cole Palmer is starting on the right-hand side, almost as a winger, but that's not what happened in this game. Palmer played very centrally. Basically, Enzo Fernandez and Palmer have been given that very free role to just drop into pockets to find space behind the lines. And it is very helpful in helping Chelsea break through opponents' initial pressure, even with a back five, even with a low block. See what I'm talking about? Of course, we're all familiar with how Rosinho likes to build up with using Caicedo and basically Andre Santos as his pivot. But what you tend to see now is Fernandez tends to get into position, just waits for opportunities to actually take the ball. Look at Fernandez here, for instance. And by the way, Burnley off the ball usually stayed in a 5-2-3 shape to try to match Chelsea's three people at the back with their build-up, with Chelsea's build-up. Now, what happened here is, look at Fernandez's movement. He just moves infield a little bit. If I take it back, look at where he was initially. And then he spotted that gap. Once Caicedo had the ball, he spotted the gap. He knew where the gap was. He just moved into that gap, collects the ball from there. And then once he does and exchanges with Santos, Chelsea were immediately able to be on the attack. Now, look at Burnley's attacking line and midfield line. And then Cole Palmer does the same thing. Just spots where the gap is, and he has moved infield. Notice that Fernandez and Cole Palmer are now in the middle of the pitch together. Cole Palmer does the same thing here. He just goes infield, spots where the gap is, and then receives the ball from Malo Gusto. Once he's able to turn here, he has gap and he has people running in front of him. Now, on this occasion, though, he was able to get his shot away and it was blocked. But look at another example of that. Now, this is another Chelsea build-up. Of course, Burnley are in that 5-2-3 shape that we've just talked about. Look at where Enzo Fernandez is. He came out wide initially, but as he's been given a free role in this team now, he is roaming, he's looking for space. He's looking for where the gap is. And then, like he did in the previous time, he just went and positioned himself between that gap, between two of Burnley's front three. There's a gap there for that pass. He positions himself in that gap. And then once Fofana is able to find him, look at how much space he now has in front of him. And then, of course, as in the previous clip, there are runners in front of him that he could easily pass the ball. He could easily get this ball out wide to Reece James, who then put in a cross for Chelsea. Look at it again. Of course, we are familiar with this Chelsea's build-up structure, with this box structure. If you followed my analysis of Chelsea under Rosinho, you're familiar with this. And then Enzo Fernandez, of course, they are trying to match Chelsea 3-3 here. But Enzo Fernandez, again, because he's given a free role to roam around, instead of the solid structure as a pivot that he had under Maresca, He's able to come through that right-hand side for Chelsea now to find space and then receive the ball from there. And once he receives this ball and turns, he now has space in front of him and then he has runners in front of him. Again, look at Cole Palmer's positioning again. Just behind that line, between the midfield line and the defensive line for Burnley, Cole Palmer is positioned there and then making a run forward again. This pass, unfortunately, this pass did not get to him because Hannibal cut the ball off. But if Fernandes had successfully found Palmer here, it would have been like in the first clip that we just saw of this sequence, where Palmer could hold the ball, turn, face the defense, and then have runners in front of him. In fact, on this occasion, Joao Pedro would have been in front making a run. So this is one difference or one pattern I spotted with Rosinho that I think has been very different from Maresca's approach and has been working effectively for Chelsea. Is the free role that he has given to both Cole Palmer and Enzo Fernandez. Instead of using Enzo Fernandez strictly in that pivot, in that double pivot to build that from the back, Fernandez is now given a free role to go forward and put himself into any gap that he can see to receive the ball, turn, and then find people in front of him. And then with Cole Palmer, where Palmer doesn't have a strict role either on the left or on the right-hand side again, although the team sheet might suggest to you that Palmer is playing from the wing, he's not. He's staying very central with the license to roam around and put himself between the lines. That way, it makes it very difficult for you to actually pick out Cole Palmer and mark him out. If you put a man on him, chances are you will then leave gaps for Enzo Fernandez to run into. You also have Joao Pedro, who is also able to drop into gaps. So if you want to put a man on Cole Palmer, which Burnley tried to do, they tried to put Hannibal on him initially, but the problem with that is that Hannibal would have to split himself between Cole Palmer and Enzo Fernandez. I don't want to get into all of that because anytime Chelsea drop points, Chelsea fans don't like watching Chelsea analysis videos. So let's just keep this one short. But a few negatives I noticed is Chelsea's mistakes when they are building out from the back. It happened 1 or 2 times in this game. I don't know. I believe it was, I won't show clips because I believe it's so obvious that anybody who watched the 90 minutes of this game, you must have seen it several times. Chelsea trying to build out from the back and then one mistaken pass or one person holding on to the ball a little too long allows Burnley to close in on them. But at the end of it all, after all the hard work that they put into this game, it eventually then came to one moment, the red card. There is a reason why I find this red card particularly annoying, because now this is just seconds before the tackle. Look at Fofana and the player he's going to tackle. They are both facing Burnley's goal. There was absolutely no need for Fofana to make that tackle. And look, Chelsea has the most red cards this season. And if you look at Chelsea players, it's in their DNA, it's in their blood. They tend to just dive into tackles recklessly. Caicedo is a prime example of it. The penalty he gave away against Leeds, I mentioned it in that game again. There was absolutely no need for him to make that challenge. This one is the same thing. For Fana, you know you're on a yellow card already. This player is backing your goal. You are in the opponent's final third. Why are you making a tackle? Why are you lunging into a tackle? Even if that player wins the ball there, he's not going to do anything with the ball. This is a game that Chelsea were firmly in control of. And once that red card happened, of course, it was game over from there. I don't even want to go into the header that Chelsea considered at the end of the game because this video is too long already. But you just need to go back and watch the replay of that corner kick that Burnley scored. It was Andre Santos, I think, failing to pick up his man. In fact, after that corner kick, the next corner kick again that Chelsea considered, it was the same thing. It was a free header, failing to pick up the man. But then again, it's Chelsea. I don't think that there is a lot of complaint that should come in from this one. It is what it is. It happened. Chelsea fans, move on from it. It's 2 point lost. The only thing you can do now is hope that Manchester United does not win because United can put some daylight between them and Chelsea. And then Liverpool, of course, is going to catch up with Chelsea. And the sad part of it is that the fixtures you have lined up now are really difficult fixtures. But anyway, it is what it is. If you enjoyed tactical analysis video and you enjoyed this video, drop me a follow, not verse. Hit the follow button. This is what I do on this channel. Hit the follow button, hit the like button, drop a comment, share the video. Help me grow the channel. See you on the next one.